Hello to all of you who will watch this later, either on Facebook or on YouTube. My name is Corey. If we have not met, we're not friends, or we're not connected here on social media or on YouTube. My name is Corey. I am a father, a husband, a writer, a singer, and a speaker. And I host a podcast called Existential, which is the name of this live video. And I just had a couple thoughts I wanted to share this morning. As I was getting ready to start the day, and I was processing some things that happened yesterday, and I wanted to share some thoughts I had about them. I am actually live today, by the way, those of you on Facebook. So hello, James. Anyone who's coming in live, if you want to share, you never have to ask me. You can come in and share this with whoever you'd like to share. You can hit the share button, share it to the whole world if you'd like. Feel free to comment. And if you're watching this later and you want to wait to the end to share it, you never have to ask my permission. You are welcome to share it as many times as you want to. So let me say good morning to folks coming in. Hey, Brittany. Hey, Karina. Good to see all of you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for saying that, Brittany. So what I wanted to talk about this morning really briefly is this. A couple of days ago on my Facebook, I've shared like three different things that had the same person show up three different times. Good morning, Nikki. And it's not the first time this has ever happened, right? It seems to be like, good morning, Gail, a frequent occurrence that like I'll share something about race or racism, or I'll share something about faith, and inevitably somebody like shows up with an argument and misses the entire point of the conversation, misses the entire point of the post. It's completely misses it. And someone will call this person out for missing it. And that person will continue to go on and on and on and on, arguing with everyone. And it's especially, it's frustrating to me when it's about like faith or something, something that's up for debate. Good morning, Ariel. But when I say something about whiteness, here's the post yesterday. Okay, now I remember the post. I said, some people cling so tightly to whiteness. Now, let me be clear. When I say whiteness, what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the construct. I'm talking about the idea, the way of being that expects the world to give you things because you're white. I woke up to a message from one of the patrons who said, I just witnessed, they said they witnessed an 80-year-old white man, because I guess the man said he was 80 years old, try to take back some cheese that basically the package was half empty. And I've had other conversations with white folks who've recognized that privilege. Good morning, Eduardo. Good morning, T. Who've recognized that there's this expectation that like the world is my oyster. So when I talk about whiteness, I talk about this thing that's unwilling to share the world, that's unwilling to yield any sort of space that they occupy in the world to anyone who's not white. When I talk about whiteness, I'm talking about the privilege of expecting the world to treat you in a certain way, and you being able to talk to and treat other people in a certain way. Whiteness shows up in statements like, if you think it's so bad here, then go back to wherever you came from. Whiteness shows up in people who feel like they can quote Dr. King to Black people. Like when white folks show up and they want to control every narrative, that's what I'm talking about. People, when I talk about clinging to whiteness, I'm not talking about I'm not even talking about your family heritage. I'm not talking about your what you look like, what color your skin is. I'm talking about that thing. Good morning, Auntie B. That thing that makes you believe that there's something inherently better than other folks. That thing. Okay. So I said some people cling so tightly to whiteness that liberation of the oppressed sounds dangerous to them. Here's exactly what I meant when I said that. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning. I already said good morning, Eduardo. Here's exactly what I mean when I say that, right? So when people start to say defund the police, because we've witnessed what the police, what policing has done in Black and brown communities. I don't know if you guys saw, what's up, Ted? The commercial. Not commercial. There was the post, and you guys, I'm distracted because I'm seeing the comments. I want to say hi to everybody, so I'm gonna try to stay focused. And if you have not shared yet, and you want, and you're here, go ahead and hit the share button. I would love for you guys to make sure your friends that I'm not connected to hear this. There's this video on Twitter of this Black kid in the driveway shooting baskets. I remember being a 13-year-old outside by myself shooting baskets, right? He's in the driveway and there's a camera on their garage, I guess. And you see this boy get the rebound, or I think gets the rebound, but he's out there playing and he looks and he sees a police car coming and he hides behind the car in their driveway. I don't know if this boy watches the news. Nandi, hello, I am live. I don't know if this boy watches the news. I don't know anything about him. But I know that he looks to be about 11, 12, 13 years old, and he's already afraid. And so when we talk about defunding the police, what we're talking about is creating a world where no little boy in his driveway feels afraid that the police will harm him. Because Trayvon Martin was just a kid who was killed by anti-Black violence, but Tamir Rice was just a kid with a toy gun. So it's not like this fear this little boy has is irrational. Anti-Black violence doesn't discriminate based on age. So when we talk about defunding the police, folks who understand that this little boy's fear is a rational fear are saying, we don't want a world like that anymore. We don't want a world where police can escalate a situation rather than de-escalating it. We don't want a world where a man sitting in his car in a driveway who fell asleep, maybe he had been drinking too much, who knows, who cares, where that situation can escalate to his death, as opposed to police showing up and saying, or some unarmed people showing up and saying, hey, notice you've fallen asleep in the car. We're not going to criminalize you for doing something that lots of people have done before, but we are going to help you. That's what we're talking about when we say defund the police. But when your lens is such that you are just holding to power and you're holding to privilege, you can't even see the other side of the argument. You can't even see that defunding the police for Black folks is about safety. I had a friend text me yesterday, a white friend, who was asking me about why Rayshard Brooks was trying to run away. Not trying to justify his murder, so let me be clear about that, but trying to say, why would he run away? And I simply text back. I said, the long answer made short is, we don't feel safe with the police. When the police show up to a situation and you are a person who looks like me, who looks like Ahmaud Arbery, who looks like George Floyd, hell, who looks like Tamir Rice, who looks like Trayvon Martin, who looks like Rashard Brooks, when the police show up and you look like them, you don't feel safe in their custody. You don't. What reason would any Black person, what reason, when you look like Breonna Taylor asleep, when you're asleep, what reason would any of us have to feel safe? And so I said that yesterday on my Facebook, that some of you cling so hard, so tightly to your whiteness. Some of you cling so tightly to your whiteness that that liberation for the oppressed sounds dangerous to you. And a white man showed up in that space and argued with everybody. I mean, everybody. I mean, folks who were trying to be gentle with him and say, hey, bro, maybe you need to sit this out. Maybe you need to do some listening. No, I don't need to listen because, how can you have a dialogue when blah, 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 and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Tried to message me to say, hey, bro, if you ever want to talk, first of all, let me be very, very clear about something. I am not engaging in conversations in my messenger with relatively anybody, to be honest, but certainly not somebody who has been arguing with everybody in the comment thread of my Facebook. Okay, let me just be clear about that, right? First and foremost, I very rarely respond to messages in my messenger inbox. I've told you guys a while ago, not because I'm trying to be anything like weird or elite. I simply do not have the time. So I have moved any of that communication to the Patreon. I respond to the patrons when they message me. Even in Patreon, I don't respond right away. But I'm certainly do not have the time to have these dialogues with people who I do not know, who inbox me these long messages, these dissertations to read through. I just don't have the time to do it. But on top of that, if you write me a book in my inbox after you have argued with everybody on my wall, I will save you the effort. Don't write me a message. There's nothing to talk about. Here's your line. Okay? Your line, if you want to inbox me at all, or if you want to say it publicly, here's your line. It is 2 words, and they're the hardest 2 words, I believe, for many, especially white evangelical males. They're the 2 hardest words for you to say together. Why don't we say them together? Let's try this. Let's do this as an exercise, okay? I want everyone, after I say these words, to type them in the comment section. Here are the 2 words. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You know what? How about this? I'm going to even say that you could say it another way. You could say, my bad. Still 2 words. If I'm sorry is too hard, which I mean, I understand if you choke on it, all right? If those words choke you up, you can't bring yourself to say that. Then you can just try, 2 easier words. My bad. I'm sorry, my bad. So yeah, there you go. In the comment section, I'm sorry, my bad. It's not that hard. I just think we need to put it out there so people know that it's not as hard. It's not that scary. It's not going to kill you. You're not going to die from it. I promise you. I've said I'm sorry a bunch of times. In fact, the other day, my good friend texted me and said, hey, bro, I don't think that you advocate for Black women as passionately as you advocate for Black men. And I said, that's fair. My bad. I'm sorry. I could have made a bunch of excuses. This was a couple of days after I found out about Rashard Brooks. So I could have made a bunch of excuses and said, today's not about black women, it's about black men. But I said, you know what? My bad. I'm going to do better. I hear you. I see you. Let me sit back and not instantly try to defend, but to sit back and go, okay, someone who's a friend, right? Someone's trying to say something that I may not see. You know, it's like when we as human beings, we're like sitting, you ever sat down with somebody, I hope this ain't too gross for you. I hope nobody's eating breakfast and they got something in their nose, right? And I think maybe like this level of friendship that you have with people, like you're like, do I say something? Do I tell this person they have something in their nose? Or do I just let it sit there? And that sort of a real friend says to you, hey man, hey sis, you got something in your nose, right? And you know that when you tell the person that it's embarrassing because you're thinking to yourself, if somebody tells you got something in your nose, you're like, how long has it been there? You know, have I been walking around with this all day? Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. You know, did I get it? All of those things. But, you know, you'd rather have somebody tell you that than to walk around looking crazy. Now, what happens with a lot of the white folks who show up in my space is I will say, hey man, you have something in your nose. It's disgusting. I don't know how you can breathe with that thing. And they go, no, I don't. I don't at all. What are you talking about? That's what's wrong with you people. You got something in your nose. And that rather than just going, oh man, do I? Thank you. My bad. Like, let me go get this. Let me go deal with it. Let me address it. And I don't know if there's this fear, certainly when we're talking about race, that people aren't going to let you off the hook. I can tell you, I'm going to let you off the hook. Louis Giglio came out yesterday and apologized. I thought the apology was great. The apology seemed sincere. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, it's too late. I don't think it's ever too late to apologize, despite the One Republic song. I think that's One Republic. I don't think it's too late to apologize. It may be that you don't absolve yourself of the consequence of the thing you did, said, or the behavior that you were engaged in. But the sorry it's never too late to genuinely bring an apology to people who you've harmed. But for some reason, that is so hard to do, and especially among evangelicals. There are evangelicals right now embroiled in controversy and in decade-long accusation, and they cannot bring themselves to say, I'm sorry. They bring themselves to blame, to scapegoat, to accuse the messenger, rather than just simply saying, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ted, the white blessing was rough, but he apologized for it. And I still hold and maintain and completely agree with my brother, Andre Henry, that there's a lot of folks talking about this situation who shouldn't be. And Louis Giglio proved to us why. He's one of those people who shouldn't have been talking about it to begin with. But the sorry was genuine. And I hope that sorry is followed up with, hey, I'm not going to stop engaging with deconstructing white supremacy, but I'm going to learn to engage in a way that's helpful instead of engaging in a way that's harmful. So I'm going to take a back seat to this one, and I'm going to push forward some folks who know what the hell they're talking about. I hope that follows the apology, but time will tell. But the apology seems sincere, and at least you took the first step of saying, I'm sorry. So many of you, maybe some of you are watching this now, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in these comments comes forward and says, well, you know what, Corey? And someone will gently say, hey, this is exactly what we're talking about. Like, no, it's not. I think that's what I hear, you know, because I can't hear your comments. I can only read them, and certain words when I read them in my mind sound like this is the that's my brain, how it works. I told you it wouldn't be before you long. I told you I gave you the words, what your line is. Okay, you guys put it in the comments. You know what? Last thing before I go. This is a good practice to have. If you have a partner or someone you really love, a best friend, a son, daughter, whatever, in your life, make it a practice to, on a regular basis, apologize. Because there's probably something you did or said inadvertently. We're human beings. We do things, we say things, we don't say things when we should. that you need to apologize to. You know, so my wife and I have this sort of regular practice. We don't do it every day. It's regular practice of saying, thank you, I love you, and I'm sorry. And sometimes we are pulling sorry out of the sky. I'm sorry if I haven't told you I love you enough today. I'm sorry if I've done anything today that made you feel unloved. Like any of those, just get in the practice of saying you're sorry so that when it's time to actually own up to something, even publicly, which I completely agree with Christopher Nolan, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I do think for all of us, there's a moment in our life where we're walking along with people. I'm afraid of this moment coming, to be honest with you, but I know I'm going to let some people down. There are too many people I'm connected to for this not to be the case. I know I have let people down. My only hope is that on the day I find out that I have become the villain, I have the courage to apologize to the people who I've hurt. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. If you've watched this all the way to the end and you're watching it later, that means that something about what I said was inspirational to you. So I want to encourage you to pass this along to your friends. And for any of you, I saw Nandi put this in the comments, and I'd like to just make this available. I always want to make this available to all of you. Okay. If you are not a part of this community, this Patreon community, it is a vibrant community. It's a growing community. It is a community of people who have offered their support to us contending for a better world. So if that's you and you want to join us in contending for a better world, feel free to click on the link in the comments below to join that community. All right, guys, I am so grateful for all of you who are with us on this journey. Love you all. Grace and peace. Until next time.